Well, hello, it's Yvonne from the Fabric Hut. Thank you for joining me in my sewing room today. This is Classic Block Wednesday. This week we're going to do a square and a square. It's going to be a lot of fun. There's a few little tricks I'm going to share with you. So this is just your basic square and the square. Then we're going to go a little bit beyond and add another round. So join me over at my sewing machine and we're going to have a bunch of fun doing squares on a square. Okay, are we ready to make some squares in a square? I have been having so much fun playing with the Fizzy Pop charm pack, the white on white charm pack, and this oh so yummy mini charms. They're 2.5-inch rainbow charms, and so they just go with everything. It's so much fun. You're going to probably get tired of me with them, but they are just too much fun. And so that's what I've been playing with lately. So for today's project, we are going to be doing a couple different squares in a square. So we're going to start with, here's the one we're going to start with. That's the second one. Here we go. Square in a square. We need a 1 white charm, and we're going to need 3 of the colored charms. So 1 white, 3 of the colors, and then we'll be good to go to make this entire block. So we're going to start with our center. The center of our block is going to be 4 1/4 inch square. So take your charm, cut off 3/4 of an inch. So you have 4 1/4. Our next round is going to be our white round here. It's going to look just like that. And for this, you only need 1 square. And you need basically the whole 5-inch square. And what you're going to do is, this is your bias edge. We are going to put the bias edge, or so the straight edge to that. So this is how our block started. We cut it twice diagonally, and it will go right onto the edges of here. Okay, now we aren't worried about there being a biased edge on the outside of these squares because there's going to be more on it. If it were the outside square, we would not use a biased piece here, but it's not, so we're okay. All right, so let's take these and we're going to just separate them out here. We're going to start with this first round. It is important when you do this that it gets centered. You can kind of guess, but it's easier if you give your center square a nice little press, just a finger press. It's going to give you a seam right down the middle. Now, if you can't see that, I'm going to go ahead. I don't typically use a friction pen on the front of my fabric because I don't want any residue. But for this instance, I'm going to show you. That little folded seam gives me right there the halfway point. So you can take and right sides together. By having that little line, you can match your point right up on that little line there and all the way out. Your triangles are going to stick out a little ways, and that is okay. That's what you want. So I need to put on my 1/4 inch with a guide foot. If you don't have a 1/4 inch with a guide, put on your whatever system you use to get a nice accurate 1/4 of an inch. There we go. Put some of this stuff out of our way now. Okay, and we are just going to do, I got to set my machine to the right 1/4 of an inch. There I go. Did you see my needle pop over? I have it memorized in my machine. Okay, and we're just going to go right down that side. Now, if I were making a bunch of them, I would put the next one in and just keep chain piecing them. However, I'm only making one today, so I'm going to put in my starter stopper here. so that my thread doesn't get bunched up. Alrighty, there we go. Give it a clip. Now, I'm going to put the next triangle opposite of this one. So again, right sides together. There's my right side. I'll line the point up on that little line. And put it there. Okay. My little starter ender, beginner stopper, whatever you like to call them. Okay. And at this point, I am going to bring my pressing mat up. And let me get those out of my way. That's the next step. Bring my pressing mat up, and I'm going to set those seams. And this is, even though it's a diagonal block, our bias is here, not here. So we can just roll the fabric over. I'm going to press it towards the center. Give it a little finger press, and I can just press it over. Do the same on this side. Little finger press and press it down. Okay. Now, if you are using a 1/4 inch foot with a guide, you'll want to snip off these little dog ears. If you are not using a guide, then it won't matter, but these get caught on the guide and make you go a little crooked. So let's just take them away. All right. Now, I ironed off my line, but you guys know how to, you saw the line before, so I'm just going to fold it, and you're going to have to trust me that I'm getting it on the point of that line. So I've got my line here, right sides together, line up that point, and again, they're sticking out over the edge. And we're going to just turn it and sew. All right, there. And you will be able to see when I pull that out that it is almost exactly matching the meeting point in those two triangles. Let me show you what I mean. See how these two triangles come together? My stitch is right there in the center. So that means I did it right. Now this end is a little bit off. Oh, come on. There we go. This one's a smidge off, and all that means is that when I press this out, see the one that matched up almost exactly? It's a nice straight line. This one has just a little edge that we'll have to trim down. Okay, and we'll get the other one. We'll see how accurate I can get with it. Right there in the center. Okay, and you can kind of look and see that that's going to hit right at that 1/4, pretty much on both sides this time. So I may not have had my point exactly on that center on the first one, even though I thought I did. It may have shifted a little bit in sewing, but look at there, it came right to that spot, so that's going to be perfect. Okay. And again, I'm going to trim off my little dog ears in a minute, just so that it doesn't affect my sewing in a... Okay, these are not the right scissors to do that with. What did I do with my good scissors? Well, oh, I put fabric on them. Okay, so these are the same type of scissors, just a little bigger. Those are thread snips. These are not. These are scissors. So it really works best if you use the right tool for the job. And these are the right tool for that job. So I love having both close by. Okay, and now we're going to bring up the pressing mat. and press it one more time right there. And there we go. And it's all pressed out. So that is our center block right there. It's looking really good. Now, remember, these are bias, but it's in the center. Our next piece is going to be cut differently because we don't want a bias on our outside edge. This is the outside edge of the block. So this is actually 2 of the fat quarters, and they are, let me see. Oh, I didn't trim this one down exactly right. I was supposed to trim that down to 4 5/8. So it's a little bit bigger than I need. So I will go and trim it. Well, I'll go get the trimming stuff so we can look at it and trim it together. These guys, instead of having one block cut 4 ways, this is going to be 2 blocks just cut in half. That puts our bias edge against the inside, and this is a straight of grain. Okay, so let me go get my cutter and show you how to trim this one down. Okay, I'm back. Sorry about that. I didn't plan on having to cut. Okay, so I just have my little rotating mat here, my block, and a square ruler. So what we want is 1/4 of an inch from this point to the outside edge. Okay, so I'm going to lay my ruler up and see this side, the point is right at 1/4. So that one's good. Over here, I'm going to turn it around and I want to get to a point. Here's the 1/4 inch line. And it is just a little bit big, so I want to make sure I'm all squared up here. Look at this section here and push up so you can see right on a straight line, and this one right on a straight line. And then, pardon the way I'm holding my cutter. I have trigger finger going right now, and I can't hold it the proper way, and it really annoys me. But I got to tell you what, ladies and gentlemen, I had never used the titanium blades before. And when I started making content for the Fabric Hut, they sent me a pack of the titanium blades. Not only are they beautiful, it makes me happy to see them, they cut so well that I can hold my cutter weird. I can't do the whole grip like I like to because this finger doesn't want to close down. So I'm kind of wonky with it. But these are so sharp and so lovely that I have been able to continue quilting without any problem. Okay, so that side is correct. I'm at the 1/4, and it's correct all the way around. Everything's square here. So let's just check this one now. I love this ruler because it has a dotted 1/4 of an inch line there. So I can see it. It's on there. I'm straight here. Okay, so we really only had to take off this little bit. There we go. Now I have my perfect block. I do like to stop and square things up. I think it just makes a much nicer final product. So there we go. All right. Again, this is now the square, the straight edge. These are the bias edge. So we're going to have to be careful when we sew them on that we don't stretch them at all. There's a couple ways to do that. My favorite is to put, well, we have 2 biases here, so we have to just be really careful. When I'm putting a bias on a straight of grain, I like to put the straight of grain down against my feed dogs and the bias up. But what we're going to have to do here, well, I didn't do my line so we can see, so fold it in half, get my little line. What we're going to have to do is when we are feeding it through the machine, I'm going to have to be very conscientious that I'm not pushing or pulling. Because when I push or pull, that's going to give that stretch and I'm going to have a wavy seam. So line up my point, line up the top, and get that just right. Okay. And it just you know, these machines are designed to do this. They don't need my help feeding it through. I like to help. I have, like I say, control issues, but I need to just let the machine do its work. And all I'm doing is keeping it straight at my foot there. Now, this time I put it with the triangle up, and that's fine. But on the next one, I'm going to show you why I typically sew it with the triangle down. Okay, I'm just going to cut. We're going to let some seams, or, you know, I'm not going to use my little leaders. I don't care if I have a little bit of extra thread because I have these dog ears. Okay, so now you look at that. See how it's nice, perfect point because I trimmed that up to 1/4 of an inch. Okay, now when I have it seam down, let me get lined up here. I can't see my fold. There it is. It lined up really well. Now, if I hadn't trimmed and gotten it so careful, by going triangle down, seam up, do you see right here where this seam and this seam meet? That is the point of our center square. So if we put it with this up, I can see that point and I can be sure to hit it one thread outside of that point so that it has room to turn over. So, and again, I got to be careful that I'm not helping, not letting it stretch. And now I'm lined up really nicely with that point. Sometimes when it's white on white and I can't see it well, I will go in and make a little mark on that point so I can see it and be sure to get one stitch on the outside and then go straight on through. We'll see how I did. Okay, here, oh, moment of truth. Look at that, right on that point on both sides. So that is perfect. We will bring up the pressing mat and give it a quick that way and that way. And look at how nice those are right there. Okay, we're almost on this one. So I love the square in a square because you can start small and you can just keep going until it's as big as you want. But I also think it gives a lot of movement to a quilt because it will put not only a block on square, but it also gives you that on point look. So you get the best of both worlds that way. Okay. Now, with this one, I better fold it. I better fold it and get my seam really careful again. I was going to eyeball it, but I have such precision going right now, I don't want to mess it up. So we're going to fold, unfold, and do it again with the last one. Right there. And it looks like that's going to meet right at that 1/4 inch. When you put your needle down, you can see whether it's going to hit right at that point, and it did. So I'm in good shape. Excuse me. Too much lint in my sewing room today. I was doing a project that had a whole bunch of well, I ragged something, and so all the little threads and everything. Okay, so now see, I had that one face up, and I didn't quite get that point exact. It is fine. But if I wanted to make sure it was exact, what I would do is I'd come in through here, pull out about every 3rd or 4th stitch. If I can get it going. And you don't have to go all the way across because it's only this center that's off a little bit. Excuse me. And pull those guys out just a little ways out. Come to this side and grab hold of that thread. And because you pulled out every 4 or 5 or 3 or 4 stitches, it just comes apart just perfectly. Now I can realign and go from this side, line up on my previous stitching line, and just go out just a hair so I can get that proper spot that I missed last time. And I think I got it. Let's see. And so when you have a little thing like that, you don't have to start all the way over, but see how that's just a little bit better? It's right there now. So once I press it, it's going to be right at the right spot. And these are folding right at the edge. So everything was lined up perfectly on that one. We'll go one more. And then we'll be done with this block. And I think that I am going to turn this over and sew from the back so I don't make that same mistake twice. I like to sew from the front because I feel like I have better control going over the lumps and things, but obviously having this point up, there's my point right there. I think I got it. Realign those guys a little bit. And we're good. Let's see what we got. The moment of truth. And look at there. Okay, and so once we press this out, that little bugger is done. And I'm just pressing out on these. Once I cut off those dog ears, it's going to be done. Isn't that a cute little block? Now, the next one is the same block, just with one more round. So you're going to have an extra round of blocks. So you're going to start with, let me think. One of this one, I think. 2 of this and 2 of that, I believe. Anyway, it's in the pattern. You'll be able to see it, but you're going to start with 3 different charm squares. And so the first thing you're going to start with is going to be a 2.5 inch solid block. Guess where I found that one? Right there. Yep. So a 2.5 inch block. And oh, I just dropped one of my triangles. Let me see. Okay. And then you're going to have a block that is, what size is it? It is, you are going to have a, okay, I need to correct myself. This one is not 2.5, it is 2 3/8. So just a smidge smaller than 2.5. So what we'll do is we'll just bring it up here and line up the 3/8 here and the 3/8 there. So it's lined up, and we will just take off our 3/8 or our 1/8, and now we have 2 3/8. Okay, so we're going to start with 2 3/8. The next one is going to be a 3-inch block that we cut into 4. So this is going to have the bias edge on the, the bias edge on the outside, like this. There we go. Okay, and we're going to do the same thing. We'll put this one around here. Actually, let's move it off onto the table so you can see it as we get bigger. I don't think we need to sew this one together because you know the system now. So there is your little 3-inch block goes around. And next you have a, let me see, where'd it go? Oh, I'm almost organized today. So this one is going to be, you're going to have 2 blocks that are 2 3/4. And these will go around here. Now it doesn't look like it fits because it does. We didn't take the seam allowance away. Let me make the seam allowance go away here, so it'll look proper. Just like that. Okay, and then we're going to add these guys. And now we have straight here, bias here. Going to go like that. One more. Oh, that's almost a square in the middle. Okay, the next one then is going to go back to the white, and you are going to take your 5-inch charm pack or charm square and cut it diagonally. So again, you're going to have bias in the wrong places. So we're going to go this way because here's your bias. So we'll put that one up there like that. We'll be sewing this bias to that straight of grain. There we go. And then the last one is going to be 4 5/8 cut in half. So I've cut off 3/8 of an inch, and these guys will go right there. And so you can just keep building and building your block as far as you want. So if you decided you wanted to go one more round, how would you figure that out? Well, what you would do is take your square ruler, right? And this seam here needs to be the diagonal seam of your block. So you would put one corner there and measure that across, and it looks like it is a 6-inch block cut in half. Okay, so it's not too hard to figure out as you're going, but there you are. Isn't that pretty when you have just one more row from this one? You just keep on going, a little bit bigger each time. Okay, so I hope that helps. If you have any questions, you can always message me at customercare@thefabrichut.com, and I'll answer anything you have. So thanks for joining me today. Enjoy your square in a square blocks.